Have you ever witnessed a moment that changed everything? Get your hands off my daughter now.
He crossed the room in long strides, tore Laya from the woman's arms, and clutched the 5-year-old girl to his chest like someone rescuing her from fire.
Leela screamed, "Daddy, no. Don't hurt her. She's not bad. She was just hugging me." Jonathan turned toward the woman, eyes blazing. "Who the hell are you, and what are you doing with my daughter?"
The woman raised both hands slowly, calmly.
"Mr. Whitmore. My name is Maya William.
I was called in last Thursday by your estate manager. The previous nanny resigned.
You don't touch my child. You don't hold her. You don't even speak to her unless I say so. Do you understand me?" Jonathan barked, shielding Laya behind him.
Laya slipped out from behind his legs and ran back to Maya, hugging her waist.
Can a stranger become family in an instant? Daddy, stop yelling. Miss Maya helped me.
I was scared and she stayed with me.
She made the monsters go away. She's a stranger, Laya. Jonathan shouted. You don't know her. I don't know her.
And now she's gone.
That's final. Maya gently knelt down, her voice low but steady. Mr. Whitmore, I understand you're angry. But Laya needs, I don't care what you think she needs. You're fired. Daddy, please. Laya screamed.
She grabbed Maya's hand, eyes wide with terror.
Please don't send her away. Please. She makes me feel like Mommy used to.
If you feel connected to the character in this story, give this video a like, comment where you are watching from because someone near you might be watching it too, and subscribe to BUP Stories for more stories that cut deeper than any argument. Jonathan flinched, the fury in him faltering just for a moment. But pride stood taller than pain. I said she's done now.
Go to your room. Maya stood silently, slowly pulling her hand from Laya's grip.
She looked down, gently brushing a lock of hair from the child's face.
It's okay, sweet pea. I'll go.
Laya shook her head violently, tears streaming.
No, don't go. Jonathan turned his back. I'll have a driver take you now. Maya looked at him one last time.
Her voice was quiet.
You might want to sit with her tonight. The nightmares will be worse now. Then she left. The silence she left behind wasn't empty. It was heavy, thick, and wrong. That afternoon, Laya didn't speak. She didn't cry anymore. She didn't eat the lunch brought to her room.
She curled under her blankets, facing the wall, clutching the scarf Maya had forgotten on the kitchen chair.
By dinner time, Jonathan tried to coax her with her favorite foods. Mac and cheese, strawberries, even chocolate pudding. Nothing worked. He called the pediatrician.
Nothing was wrong physically. She was just shutting down. That night, Jonathan sat outside her door, unsure of what to do. The hallway was cold, but he stayed. Around midnight, he heard her whispering Maya's name in her sleep, followed by soft sobs, and something in him cracked. At 6 a.m. the next morning, he picked up the phone and called the agency.
Is Maya Williams still available? He asked, voice rough with shame. There was a long pause.
I'll cover whatever needs to be covered, he said.
By 9 a.m., Maya walked through the door again.
She looked tired, cautious, but not bitter. Jonathan met her in the foyer. I don't have excuses, he said quietly.
But Laya hasn't spoken a word since you left. She won't eat. I need your help. Maya nodded once. I came for her, not for you. Jonathan stepped aside.
She walked into the kitchen, into the silence, into the heart of a broken little girl's world.
And for the first time since his wife died, Jonathan realized love couldn't be scheduled, couldn't be paid for, and sure as hell couldn't be controlled. Somewhere in between pride and apology, he had let someone go who had already become family. And now, watching Maya take Laya into her arms again, seeing life return to his daughter's face, he understood he didn't just fire a nanny. He had nearly banished the only light left in his daughter's life.
Jonathan Whitmore sat in his home office, staring at the security feed on the corner of his monitor.
Maya had returned only hours ago. And already Laya was talking again, not just talking, laughing.
She sat at the breakfast bar in her favorite pajamas, clumsily stirring a bowl of oatmeal while Maya gently braided her hair. It should have been a relief, but for Jonathan, it felt like failure. He turned off the screen and leaned back in his leather chair. He was used to control. In boardrooms, his voice was gospel. On Wall Street, his word moved millions. Yet here, in his own house, he was a ghost watching someone else raise his child. The room smelled faintly of cedar and old ambition. Awards lined the walls. Articles with headlines like, "The Cold Genius of Whitmore Innovations" sat framed in gold.
None of it seemed to matter now. He rose suddenly, pacing. Who was Maya William? Really? Yes, the agency had vouched for her.
Yes, Laya clearly adored her, but that didn't erase the fact that she had arrived uninvited, filled a void that wasn't hers to fill, and somehow had his daughter calling her mommy.
He couldn't let it go.
Pulling out his phone, he dialed Carla, the estate manager. "Mr. Whitmore," she answered breathless. "I need the full employment file on Maya William.
References, background checks, anything you've got."
A pause, "Sir.
We did the standard vetting. Not good enough. I want a full report by tonight."
He hung up before she could reply. Downstairs, Mia hummed softly while cleaning the counter. Laya skipped around the kitchen, occasionally stopping to hug Mia's legs. It was as if the child had sprouted wings overnight.
Jonathan returned to the kitchen doorway but said nothing. Maya glanced up and nodded politely. "Good morning, Mr. Whitmore." He didn't answer right away.
Instead, he walked to the fridge, opened it, stared inside at the untouched containers of pre-packaged gourmet meals, then shut it again.
"You cook," he said finally.
"I do," she replied, still wiping the counter.
"You don't need to. We have a chef." "Laya prefers simple food," she said. "Pancakes, oatmeal, real eggs." He frowned. "Real eggs?" Maya turned, looked him in the eye. "Not powder, not artificial, just eggs."
Something about her tone rubbed him the wrong way.
It wasn't disrespectful. It was worse. It was honest. He cleared his throat. "Let's be clear about something, Miss William.
I brought you back for Ela's sake, not because I trust you."
She nodded. "I figured as much. Then you'll understand why I'll be watching. I expect nothing less." Laya, standing nearby, tugged on her father's sleeve. "Daddy, can Miss Maya stay forever?" He crouched down. "She can stay for now, sweetheart. We'll see." Laya seemed satisfied enough with that and skipped off to the living room to draw. Jonathan rose and turned back to Maya. "Just don't make this personal." "Oh." Maya folded the towel in her hands. "Raising a child is personal, sir. Even when it shouldn't be." He didn't respond. Instead, he left the kitchen and returned to his office. Jaw clenched. By noon, Carla had sent over the full background report. Jonathan skimmed through it. Maya William, 29 years old, native of the Bronx, bachelor's in early childhood psychology, worked at 2 inner-city schools before shifting to private childcare. No criminal record. Glowing references. A note in the file from one former employer read: "She doesn't just care for children. She sees them." That line bothered him the most. He set the papers down and stared at the photo attached. Maya, smiling, holding hands with a child that wasn't Laya. The ease on her face, the peace, it unnerved him. Later that evening, he passed by Laya's room. The door was cracked open just enough to hear Maya reading aloud, and the little bear said, "I'm not afraid of the dark because my heart is a lantern." Jonathan paused. Yayla's giggle floated out like wind chimes. "Read it again," she whispered. "No," Maya said, her voice soft. "It's bedtime, pumpkin. But will you stay?" I'll stay in the hall just like before. Jonathan stepped back. There it was again. The part he hadn't asked for, hadn't expected. Maya didn't just put Laya to bed. She stayed, not because she had to, but because she knew Laya needed it. He went downstairs and poured himself a glass of scotch, the kind reserved for victories. Tonight, it didn't taste like one. By midnight, he was back outside Laya's room. Maya sat in the hallway, leaning against the wall, a worn paperback in her hand. She looked up as he approached but didn't speak. Jonathan sat down beside her. I was 10, he said suddenly. When my mother stopped tucking me in, said it was unmanly. My father agreed. Maya closed her book, but said nothing. I used to have night terrors. Woke up screaming. They sent me to therapy instead of sitting beside me. Silence. She called you mommy. She misses hers. Jonathan nodded slowly. She also has me. Maya looked at him. Gentle but firm. Then she needs you to show up, Mr. Whitmore. Not just be around. He didn't move, but his face softened. She's lucky you came back, Maya added. He let out a breath. I'm not sure I did. Oh. They sat in silence, shoulder to shoulder, neither one needing to fill it. For the first time, the man who could never sit still, didn't want to leave. The next morning, Jonathan Whitmore awoke to the smell of something foreign in his own house, scrambled eggs. Not the sous vide, micro-portioned egg whites his private chef typically served, but the rich, buttery kind that came from a cast-iron skillet seasoned with cracked pepper and chives. He blinked against the sunlight peeking through the blinds, and checked the time. 6:47 a.m. Early, but not unusual. What was unusual was the sound of laughter echoing up from the kitchen. Real laughter. Not the polite, scheduled kind he heard at galas or investor dinners, but wild, belly-deep giggles from a 5-year-old who had forgotten how to grieve for just a moment. He followed the sound, still in his robe, and stopped at the kitchen door. Maya stood at the stove, barefoot, her sleeves rolled up, humming softly. Laya was on a step stool beside her, holding a wooden spoon like a microphone. Her hair was a mess, her cheeks pink from joy, and her pajama pants were tucked unevenly into mismatched socks. Jonathan didn't say anything. He just watched. You want to stir the eggs? Maya asked. Laya nodded furiously. Like a chef? Exactly like a chef. As Laya stirred, Maya gently guided her hand. It was simple, domestic, intimate, too intimate. Jonathan cleared his throat. Both heads turned. Good morning, Daddy. Laya beamed. We're making real food. I can see that, he said, forcing a smile. Maya, could I speak with you a moment in private? Maya wiped her hands and followed him into the adjacent dining room. He shut the door behind them. You don't need to involve her in cooking, he said flatly. She asked to help. Maya replied calm but firm. She's 5. She's also grieving. Jonathan's jaw flexed. She's not just healing from her mother's death, Mr. Whitmore. She's healing from your absence. He looked away. I've been doing what I can. What you can isn't always what she needs. Her words weren't cruel, but they landed like stones. Still, he wouldn't let a nanny, no matter how insightful, make him feel like a failure in his own home. I appreciate your methods, but I prefer structure. She needs connection more than structure now. Their eyes locked. Jonathan broke first. Fine. Just don't let her use the stove. Of course not, Maya said. Later that morning, Jonathan went to his office but couldn't focus. Emails, investor updates, merger documents. All of it felt like static. His eyes kept drifting back to the monitor, to the live feed from the living room camera. Laya sat cross-legged on the floor, drawing with colored pencils. Maya knelt beside her, watching patiently. Jonathan zoomed in on the drawing. It was a house, their house. But instead of 2 people in the window, there were 3, Laya, Maya,
and someone who looked vaguely like him, standing awkwardly at the edge of the frame. Something twisted in his chest. He closed the laptop and stood. By early afternoon, he found himself in the kitchen again. The chef had arrived and was prepping lunch. Jonathan watched as Maya moved with quiet confidence, Laya trailing behind her like a shadow. He cleared his throat again.
Maya, I owe you an apology.
She turned, surprised.
For yesterday?
For more than that, he said.
I judged you without knowing you. And I almost cost Laya something she needed. Maya nodded slowly. Thank you, Mr. Whitmore. But it's Laya who showed me what I needed too.
That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Jonathan sat with Laya on the porch. She leaned against him, a drawing in her hands. It was the same house, but now he was inside it, smiling.
You're in it now, Daddy, she said. He smiled back, a real smile. I am, sweetheart. I am.
And for the first time, the Whitmore house felt like a home again, thanks to the woman who refused to let love be controlled. Subscribe to BUP Stories for more heartfelt tales that touch the soul.